Yo, what's up? You saved me the 20 seconds it takes me to hunt people down in Discord. Time. Let's see. I think yours is like the 3rd submission. Yeah. Time is up. Oh, we're pretty much on time. Yeah, it's fine. Make sure my monitor capture's set. Music sounds like let me put this on the side, and then also open up my notepad. And I'll probably open the excerpt mods, so I have them open. Alright, we're basically good. Let me pause the game so that I can hear like every other second. Alright, let's see. Executing this thing. Neutral. Okay. Neutral's always like everybody wants good neutral. Everybody wants good as neutral, but nobody knows how to get it. But a lot of neutral in this game is honestly just patience. How long is this? 8 minutes? Oh, we can watch the whole thing. It's pretty chill. Yeah, I will say as like passing like drive-by advice, if you press round start / versus Johnny, it beats a lot of stuff that is not just / at round start. You press / and you hold up back. That's just like passive matchup advice. If you press / and you hold up back and Johnny throws coin, you jump and you block it. If you presses like 2D, you counter hit the extended hurt box and then you jump away. If he presses / he counter hits you, but counter hit level 1 only leads to like 6H misfinder. It's like 20 to 30 damage or something. It's not a lot. It's like maybe 10% of your health bar. And I think if he presses 5H, you still catch the extended hurt box. But honestly, nobody really presses 5H at run start with Johnny. But it is nice. Kabari trade's unlucky. Nice catch. Yeah, that is what it looks like. Honestly, it didn't look like they were trying to throw it. They just caught mashing coincidentally. Not ready for the pickup. You gotta be careful because that's minus on IB. Johnny's a little weird on this. Johnny's hurt box is kind of whack for this combo. Yeah, that's just like Johnny stuff. He's annoying to make this more consistent on. Because he's too heavy to just do jump slash. You have to add jump punch to that and then it works. Same with Leo. The Leo you might not need jump punch, but it's better to do it. The problem is Johnny falls out of jump punch quite a bit. He has a nasty hurt box for it. Yeah, jump P before the second jump S. You do PSD. Again, either way, you might have Johnny fall out of it sometimes. He's kind of a pain in the ass to use jump P versus, but he's also heavy enough that you need to do it versus him. Should kill. Where's the cancel? Alright. It's good sequencing though. Let's go around start, looks like. Yeah. Johnny's scary to scramble. He's got pretty good buttons for it. That's why Azami helps out so much sometimes. That's not too bad without a level. That's gonna hit. That's too close for the disjoint to trade. Or not trade, but clash. Nice. Catches the blitz. Eating the blitz is fine. I usually eat the blitz because if they full charge, I get a zombie. I usually don't blitz back. Sometimes I do if I think like it's important to keep up momentum, or I don't think that they're gonna give me the full charge. I'll play the blitz behind the game. Doesn't bite on the 6k. That was fine. That was gonna hit. Maybe throw. Yeah, that timing's awkward. You can punish those if it ever comes up. It's just those are hard to get. But jump S recovers and you can always air dash. You can always air dash pick up. It's just really like it takes a while to get used to that kind of thing. This kills if he does the whole combo. Oh, he cut it short. No, I'm saying like the jump S doesn't get hit at the end, right? So like his burst just whiffs, and when jump S retracts, you have enough time to air dash and pick up before they touch the floor. That's usually like why it's scary to burst fade away Baiken, because whenever she fades away, if you burst and it whiffs like that, she can air dash back in after it whiffs and then get the punish. It's just like, if you're not ready for it, it can be kind of jarring. Yeah, let's just chill. The thing, again, the thing about neutral that a lot of people, like, if neutral is the focus, a lot of people forget, like, there's no rush in a lot of matchups. Some matchups there is a bit of a rush, like, to get in, because you don't want them to get set up fully. But other matchups, it's okay to go pretty slow. Get the challenge. I'm surprised that reach. Johnny's pretty big. Nice. Nice. Hit. It was an awkward situation. Yeah. It hit so late, you kind of just have to get blitzed. That's gonna hit. Start rolling swinging, gets punished. Level 3 is kind of tricky now. Yeah. Like the way I would put it, Johnny especially is like a little extra tricky compared to other people, but basically as Citriux gives up space, you don't want to give it back to him. That's like how you play versus Johnny's a lot of times in neutral. You would do essentially like the same type of situation that got him to move back, right? So like you would do something like this air dash forward and it gets him to move back, and then once you kind of reset spacing, you can do it again, and eventually he's gonna run out of room. It's really tedious, but again, that like good neutral is usually kind of like prolonged, especially versus a character like Johnny, who's so good at punishing people overcommitting that it's scary to not like take the neutral pretty slow. I think if you watch me versus a lot of Johnnies, usually you'll see me kind of hanging out in the air a lot, just forcing him to backdash away a lot. I miss. I need to get the knockdown happen. Nice. Get the low. Knockdown, nice, me just go. Fine. That was good on him to wait. That's too far though. That's as scary as Baiken. He is blocking, but he probably doesn't know the punish. Yeah. Yeah, like this is mostly fine. I'll talk about something that can kind of help speed up, like an aggressive option or neutral that's not like overcommittal. Neutral is a spectrum. All is gonna get punished if you don't pick a follow up. Certain things are like big reward, big risk. Some things are like small reward, small risk. And sometimes like small reward, small risk is good. It helps a lot for. Let's see. Yeah, because he's doing a good job just backing away a lot. This kind of thing can be kind of frustrating for Baiken. And Baiken gets gate kept a little bit if he can't do Kira Tatame on command. Kira Tatame on command, yeah, I thought it was 1-1, is really good at giving Baiken this extra really strong tool, but you don't need it until like way later on. Eventually people will kind of force you to have to be able to Kira Tatame, or you wouldn't be able to like risk reward neutral enough. But there is something that you're not doing that we'll talk about. Has a lot to do with using jump S to take space. Oh, no hit confirm. Okay, this is chill. We'll talk about a Johnny specific thing that I find is a little helpful too, actually. Can kind of like help versus some Johnnies that get a little overzealous at level 1 with K-Miss Fighter. Nice. Yeah. Waits, but no punish. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about how to check. There's like a cheeky way to check level 1 Finder. Like a month old, so you're really trying to avoid Kira Tatame. No, that's fine. That's fine. Don't do Kira Tatame. I'm just making note of it because like you might watch me and go like, well, he just does Kira Tatame. You know, like there's other ways around it. It's just one of those like I have to Kira Tatame at like high level, you know. But believe me, like you don't need. I've proved it before. Like I've beat people without Kira Tatame for like demonstrative purposes. Not to be like mean about it, but my point is we'll talk about using jump S instead for helping with approaches. But like obviously IAD jump S is getting stuffed out a lot by either spaced out K-Miss Fighter or backdashing, right? And that's kind of like what's been like the struggle of this set most notably. And like there's a way around that. We'll talk about it a little bit. Has a lot to do with like I like that. We'll talk about a concept. I think it's kind of like nice to start practicing. It's like not too tough to do either. It's like pretty mechanically. It's like pretty tame. Let's see what happened on. It's like the only thing on it. I don't like pausing too much because we're trying to stay on schedule. But where'd you close the gap here? Oh, IDJS. Okay. We'll talk about IDJS a little bit too, actually, because I haven't seen you do the most common thing off of it as much yet. Yeah. Okay. And then he got frame trapped. We'll talk about picking. Okay. I got a couple things. A couple like drive-by advice pieces. I promise I don't want to miss anything, but I'm gonna write like 2 real quick notes. Shit. No, I don't need to know how to use Windows Notepad. 24, we're still pretty alright. Okay. I'm pretty sure I have like everything I need to write for this set anyway, but we'll watch the conclusion of it more or less just to see how it the last couple interactions go. Oh, he missed the double jump. Oh, it's lucky timing. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, Johnny deading will last quite a while. Ooh, I'm surprised he didn't backdash. He hasn't really backdashed in that situation. It's blocking. This coin will maybe hit, yeah. She's gonna move forward that fast. Yeah, and then get stuffed. Yeah, we'll talk about a couple of things. There is like one. I'll give like a little bit of like some of the matchup advice, really quick, because it's not stuff that you have to really talk about. We'll just show it basically. Change my input device. Not that it matters, but that way people, I guess, know that I play Baiken on the pad. You can / check Johnny's a lot of the time round start, and they won't really know like what to do with it like right away. A lot of the times, some of them will start backing off. Some of them will start like I'll let them / me eventually, and then once they kind of like go towards using / a lot, I'll probably just like, I don't know, I'll like backdash more at round start. But basically, like if Johnny was to do say like this, and you do this is what this interaction looks like at round start. You press / and then if you do it correctly at round start and you hold up back, you'll block coin like that. You'll always jump cancel it, right? And if he does 2D, then you'll get this interaction like that where you catch the under her blocks. I think if he does 5H, you might catch it, but it might catch / I don't remember. It kind of depends. Like delay, I think it's delayed 5H catches this, but see, like it catches 5H around start. It loses to this at round start because that's 1 frame faster. But I find that helps like a good amount. Obviously, like if they think you're gonna do like runaway air dash stuff like at round start, / catches it. With the 6K like that, so it doesn't actually like upper body envelope. I do this like a good bit versus Johnny's just because I don't really like the RPS anyway at round start. So a lot of the times I'll just like do this to guarantee I get away most of the time, right? Because if you're doing something like say like this, you might get like 6K'd or something. I don't know. I think even round start this might get caught. No, it doesn't. Round start raw Camus Finder doesn't, but nobody's gonna do that. But yeah. Press round start up back, it's good. Or sorry, round start / into up back is pretty good. The other thing I was gonna say really quick is if I'm not mistaken, it's basically the entire range of it. If Johnny like I'm only gonna CPU is set to block, right? So CPU is set to block. Get rid of this stuff. CPU is set to block. I'm only gonna record like actually I'll record on a jump. So he's set to block afterwards, right? So in other words, like if I try to punish, etc., right? Pretty much at all ranges, Rokon Sogi tends to catch this as a punish, like an actual punish. If they go too ham, doing this and mashing Rokon Sogi was like pretty solid, right? Because as long as you understand the range pretty well, you only do it briefly, and even if he does this, he won't be in throw range, right? Like he's got to do like 2 of these to get into his throw range, kind of, right? So when Johnny's just kind of mash on S-Finer or Camus Finer all the time, sometimes I'll check at this range with Rokon Sogi out of Azami. Like I'll just crouch Azami and mash Rokon Sogi, and I get a free knockdown if they do it, right? And the idea is it's kind of hard for them to punish it if you're good at the spacing, because even if he just dashed here, he's not in his throw range, right? He's in his range to press buttons, but that's not what's gonna win here. So just some good advice. If they're doing way too much level 1 Camus Finer, that's pretty good at checking them. And they don't really have like a good way of baiting it. Like I guess they could do this, but it's kind of expensive to do that. And at that point, I would probably just stop canceling the Rokon Sogi and do something like this instead. Don't worry about it. Do that until they adjust. Let me see. And then actual like notes about neutral are gonna be. Let me keep the timer up so I remember. So, one thing I was gonna say, this is less about the neutral, but I do want to like mention it. Now that you're comfier at getting knockdowns, you can start to run, even if you can't run some kind of like Yozansen type of mix, right? Off of this, when you get these knockdowns, a lot of the times, not all the times, but as long as you do it like off hits that aren't like max range 5H, a lot of the times you land outside, like people get knocked down outside of your throw range, which is fine. You actually prefer that. You can kind of start doing some of the RPS that I do, where when I get Rokon Sogi knockdowns versus characters that don't have DPs, more often than not, like if they have a DP, I do this less because the DP is good at checking everything. But let's say like Johnny, for example, I'll do neutral jump and then you can land and do 2K. And if you're comfortable hit confirming in 2 hits, you can keep people in this situation. You kind of want it hit confirm in 2 hits. Because a lot of the times that's what keeps them in this range, so that you can kind of keep doing this for a while if you go low. See, If I was to add a hit like this, it'll still knock down sometimes. Sometimes it won't. But even if it did, like I start to kind of like lose the range where this works as well. Over time. It's like really subtle, but it does happen. Doesn't matter though. If you press the 3 hits, it'll probably work. I just know I stopped doing 3 hits as much because it's more inconsistent across the cast. But you do Rokonsogi and you either land and you can press this, right, and put them in the exact same spot again, or you can do a delayed air dash like this with JSPK and then get a launch like that. You've been trying this and you feel like you land in throw range so often. Even if you land in throw range, it's not that big a deal because a lot of times air dash can still be meaty enough that it beats some option selects on wake up. But a lot of it has to do with like how fast you confirm this. Sometimes Rokonsogi, like at this range, will kind of leave you in throw range, but most of the time it doesn't, honestly. It has to be like, but it's kind of one of the benefits of the fact that like Rokonsogi doesn't combo from as far anyway. So because if you get it from like say like max range like over here, not even still like, right, so like even this isn't in throw range. I would have to watch and see maybe how you're ending up in throw range, because most of the time, as long as you're getting like any kind of knockdown like this, like even this is still not in throw range for either of us, for anybody in the game basically. That usually you can neutral jump and the mix is pretty solid. I don't want to spend all day on it. Basically it's you land, then you do a low and you hit confirm in the same situation. If you want to like force better value, then the low you pick is 2D into tatami and it's better value. But you don't really need to, honestly. Like you could just keep doing lows. And then obviously the high is a launch. You could just pick up and then follow up after it. You can also just do neutral jump tatami like that, and you'll get free pressure and it catches people backdashing. It catches people backdashing. This mostly loses to reversal and blitz, despite what it looks like. It looks like it shouldn't, but it does. Do this, and then a lot of the times I'll just like let them get hit and then run up after and get my confirm, right? But the big thing is if this dude backdashes, he gets hit by like the tatami flop like that a lot of the times, and you'll whiff a button and then probably go like, oh okay, and then just catch him. But as you, like I said, if anything, if you get thrown a lot, that's probably something you should maybe like send me a clip of, because I know most of the time off of like the hits that she usually gets for stuff, she doesn't usually end up in throw range for that if you were to go low, which is part of what makes it pretty solid, because even if people OS, you're not in range to get thrown. But I would say don't let that discourage you. Again, most of the time you should be fine, I want to say. If anything, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes, like, if you got the Rokonsogi off a zombie, you might end up too close. Or, sorry, not too close. Too far for 2k to be the low that connects, which is annoying. But that can happen sometimes. And then that's pretty much it. There's, like, some sneaky stuff. You can land and do 2H, etc. The core of it is low with 2k, air dash JS as the high, and then tatami as like a lazy, like, I'm just like, you're probably gonna block anyway, but if you backdash for whatever reason out of the low or the air dash, tatami smokes them. Just like land into tatami. Just smokes them, and it doesn't affect your offense at all. Most people assume it's a safe jump even though it isn't. As far as, I was also going to say, if you pick this a lot, when it whiffs, when stuff like this whiffs, I pick this a lot. Passive, just like try it some more. You'd be surprised, not a lot of people punish this anyway when they block it. And this is more likely to catch people than this is. Because this hits in front of you. And then like, will sometimes whiff, but this kind of moves into them and will catch a lot of people either jumping or mashing late after this misses. Try Rokonsogi more, and as you do it, if you have the money to spend, you can combo off of it if you see it hits them. Right. Sometimes I'll just do it to keep my offense going, but usually like you can see it hits them and then get a combo. And then basically we'll talk about neutral. So one of the things that is tough as Baiken is that certain characters like Johnny, obviously, like at this distance, as you're like air dashing, they'll see you leave the floor and they'll kind of like backdash on reaction. And there's no real good way to catch it with jump S, right? Like jump S will whiff, through its active frames, and then you land and you feel like you're in a bad spot because they recover first and then you land and then they get control of the situation, right? A lot of the times, something that you can try, I've talked to other people about this before because it's a good concept with a lot of the cast members, is you use a lot of momentum off of neutral jumps to sort of put yourself in a situation that like you can't do quite the same off of forward jumps. So like if you're dashing at all and you press up, you retain a little bit of your momentum like this, right? You see how she tends to drift forward? It doesn't seem like a big deal, but depending on how you use it, it's actually like pretty nice, right? And we'll talk about it because a lot of the times if I was to say like jump, yeah, the drift, if I was to jump in this general range, everybody and their mother usually can react to air dash, or not even react, but just kind of stick this button out preemptively when you would have to air dash. And it would be very easy for them to stop it, right? And in this range, it's kind of like hard to get anything. If I was to like try to air dash from here, it's not that threatening, right? If I was to like land and then move forward because they're gonna anti-air me, it's not that threatening. But if I did kind of the same idea, but I ran a little bit before I did it, like dashing or running, essentially usually you want to get to around here or so versus them. And then just press up like that, right? The idea is that even if you weren't to commit into the air dash because maybe they're preemptively pressing 6p so they catch you when you do it, now when you don't commit to it, you're really close when they whiff that button, right? So like I'll show it a little bit in reverse while I talk about it. But essentially the idea, especially with Baiken, is that as you occupy that space drifting forward a little bit, Jump S demands a lot of respect. It doesn't lead to much, but it is something that is like virtually uncontestable, right? So like, let's say we're hanging around here and I jump like this, 6Ps don't interact with that button like at all. This is all disjoint essentially at this range. So like around here, this button is all disjoint, like all disjoint, right? And most of the time, even if people want to anti-air it, a lot of the times they can't pull it off at this distance. Like here, they'll either have such a good at 6p that maybe it whiffs like that, which is fine, that's not a big deal. Or a lot of the cast honestly doesn't have a good enough 6p, and like you'll just hit their ankles a lot of the times around here, right? That you'll start to sort of like, let me pick a worse 6p just to show it off a little bit. Chips isn't a bad 6p, but it's good for showing off this, how this kind of thing works. We'll pick like Soul. Soul 6p is kind of shitty for something like this. But I'm essentially telling you, like, try doing a little bit of the dash jumps into like drifting like this and using jump S, right? So pretty much just like exactly what that looked like. You do something like this, and this dude, like, if they want to sit around and press anti-airs all day, it's not gonna work. Like, this just doesn't work most of the time. Oh, it's a little too close. Like, this will clash a lot of the times, right? And it's not that your goal is to make this your whole game plan. It's just this is how you punish people that want to give up space all the time, like by like seeing you do like a jump like that and then backdashing. You just kind of take the space slowly with jump S as like a low commit option, right? Once they become a little too predictable, you do something like this essentially, where you do like a delayed air dash off the same drift, right? So you do something like this, and now when this guy backdashes on reaction, he's cooked. Right? If they backdash on reaction, this is timed like a lot of the times to catch it like that. It's one of those things where they kind of like, they would have to wait and anti-air you, right? But if they wait and anti-air you, then now you can start to abuse that. And instead of doing, I didn't mean to record a button. I was trying to do something like this, right? They can't do anti-airs with 6p, or most characters don't have a button. Things like Kai2H and other like anti-airs tied to crouch are a little easier, or things that are built to trade as anti-airs kind of are the exception to this. But a lot of the times, the reason that the little drift is so nice, even though it seems like not a big deal, is you start to move into a range where people can't anti-air you on reaction. They have to do it preemptively once you're around here, right? So if they do this, as long as you're comfortable with understanding the threat that you're posing, a lot of the times you just have to do something like this. Oh, whoops. Let me press 2H. It'll be like a lot easier for this. Oh shit, dude, look how good jump S is in that range, right? Right, so now you do something like this, right? It's like, oh, he's gonna 6p. God damn it, it's still 6p. This is a lot easier to do in practice than it is off of recording, so I'll have to excuse me. Because this spacing is like really awkward to set. Let me take a step back and it'll be a little easier. Yeah, like this, right? So like now when he does his anti-airing and stuff like that, like you'll catch him committing to that button, right? Most characters only really have like anti-airs they can use on like preemptively here, right? So if I was to sort of like identify all the branches of decision making that go on here, right? It's essentially you can use a lot of like spaced out jump S either off of neutral jumps or sorry, either off of like regular jumps like this, as long as they're really spaced out. But a lot of times it's easier to do something like this, right? And drift into the range. This is very low commit, very low reward. It never leads to anything, but it kind of always forces them to back away, right? And you can only back away until you run out of space when you reach the corner, right? Something higher value is like the air dash, but this is what people are usually anti-airing most of the time. So you don't want to give that to them most often. You kind of have to like wean them away from it. Air dash is there. You can also land and press things like 2H. You can land and press, I love pressing Tatami off of the neutral jump a lot of the times like this, because Tatami has such a wide range that it tends to punish people that just press anti-airs on reaction here, right? You get a pop-up, you get to see the pop-up, etc., right? You kind of want to turn it into like the space in front of us right now is the space I'm threatening. I'm not too like worried about really getting on top of the opponent if all they're doing is trying to stop that from happening, right? By mashing backdash versus the things like all of the really quick things tend to lose to things like backdash or preemptive anti-airs, right? That's like the downside of them. But as you take space slower with these other things and occupy this space, you'll start to kind of like see like, oh, okay, I get it. You know, I take space slowly, things like Kabari help. Does that give you a little bit of an idea? You know, I don't want to just like ramble without getting your input of like how you push people away slowly, right? The way I would put it is you don't want this to be your whole game plan. Your goal is to agitate people enough that they're either going to commit to moving forward, kind of like to change their game plan into interacting with you a little more directly again, right? Because for shit like this, let's say like, for example, you know, like if I did this, let me see, if I was doing this all day and he's like finally committing to like, nah, fuck that. I see the jump, I'm going to run forward, you know, like kind of like as it's happening and do this. Then it's like all your other stuff is probably a lot better now, essentially. It's like you'll see stuff like this finding more success again because this dude is running. Although still tends to low profile. Let me run from a little farther. Oh my god, does he always low profile jump us? I feel like he doesn't if it's far. Hold on. Oh, he does. What a world. I've like never noticed. Interesting. But you use these tools like jump S in a range where people can't anti-air. The neutral jumps like into Tatami is like this, so that you put stuff in front of you a little bit slower and a little bit safer. Baiken moves in really fast like committal chunks when she closes gaps like this really quickly, and those are really easy to either dodge or do etc. versus, right? Like if I was to do this dude's like over here and he just does this, like I'm never gonna find like success doing that, see, because of that, right? But stuff like stuff like this tends to confuse people, and now they don't know like what they're doing, right? Because they'll see this and they'll be like, oh, I gotta jump back, or like etc., or I got an anti-air, right? Again, remember, you will die. If people anti-air you like this and you committed to air dashing, you will absolutely die. But the point is that you don't have to, right? Baiken JS is so fucking good that it's just like you just do this most of the time and you get like clashes. Land in 2H. Do you have any quick questions besides that? And it takes a while to get used to like dash neutral jumping and kind of using its momentum. I would suggest watching me. And even when outside of the Kita Tatamis, you'll start to see me slow the pace down with stuff like this a lot in certain matchups. I've been slowing it down a lot versus Solstice specifically. If I'm not like, you know, just kind of lazy that day. But if you have like a quick question, then you probably like address it. You have a question about this specifically? There was one other Johnny question you had. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. There's not too much else to say besides you kind of got to try it and feel it out. And also me explaining that, you'll see it maybe a little bit more when I play. You'll see me do a lot of those like spaced out jump S's. You feel like you get blown up literally every time you backdash against Johnny? Do you mean defensively? Or like Oki? Oh, I want to say, let me see. Let me do this backwards real quick. I want to say that Citriux does, wait, I have to be Johnny. No, Johnny has to be the CPU. You're probably getting hit by 2H, a specific, yeah, defensively. Backdashing is kind of shit versus Johnny in like neutral. Like you have to have a really good backdash, but if it's just like say Johnny pressure like this, that shit's kind of bad. Like I don't fuck with backdash. He's got too many things to catch it. Like coin would catch it. Certain normals like this are like decently active, right? There's some like niche situations some characters can backdash things like this, for example. Is something like that. It doesn't technically like this has a gap in it towards like the point like right before it's active, right? Let me see. So like this is something you can backdash, but like I would never recommend it, you know. Generally a lot of Johnny pressure stuff is like if I was to really quick give him a level or two, put him at 3, it's easier, right? So like if I was to like do something like this, the big thing is like it doesn't really help you, right? So there's a gap between this. I don't believe 5H into this is a true block string. The problem with Johnny is it doesn't change your circumstances much, right? A lot of the times you kind of like dodge a button maybe, and then it's like, he's still kind of better in this range. I would say a lot of the times I generally try to jump out versus Johnny pressure if he seems like he's pushing himself out some more finally. Faultless defense can be kind of nice to mess up the spacing on some strings. Just a little bit of it can go a long way versus Johnny. But I do think defensively, backdash is kind of whatever versus Johnny. Even 2S, like, even Johnny 2S actually just has enough active frames on it sometimes to just, like, catch backdashes. Like, see? That it's, like, it's not really, like, this button catches backdash. It's super fucked up. Like, you would think this button wouldn't, but it does. Like, this is a button you're not supposed to backdash. And it catches it. Far slash is kind of one of the only ones I feel like I get away with backdashing versus Johnny. But yeah, I would say not to do it much. Even on Oki, it's probably not worth it. If he was to say like knock you down like this, you can backdash 2H but like they have to actually mediate, which sounds funny, but like a lot of Johnnies are kind of ass at mediating this. So like, but you can backdash 2H as the Oki. My advice would be to try a little bit more jumping versus Johnny instead. And if you're like, what do I do on the way down? You kind of have to like jump S. Jump S or like air dash to Tommy. Like if you jump, you do like air dash back to Tommy. Try YRC. Or Azami if they're very predictable. And if you pick Azami, pick Rokonsogi versus Johnny a lot of the times. Johnny has some pretty high attack levels on his normals and you get away with this a lot. Hey, what's up, Thuntag? But yeah, hopefully that gives you some ideas on neutrals a lot, right? Neutrals a lot, and a lot of it is slowing it down for Baiken is what makes her neutral a little bit better. Being able to do this like to the point where you don't have to think about it even, like it's just reflex. If you need to do it, you do it, and you're not even thinking about the input, is game changer eventually for her, but it's not necessary in the slightest. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it's not necessary for a very long time. The same way you don't really need Kita Tatames to like win out sets or stuff like that, you know. Let me start messaging Bridge. But yeah. Big takeaways are like practice the Rokonsogi mix because it's good. There was some passive advice and slow it down and try doing some like slower approaches to jump S. And Johnny is a tough one, by the way. Like Johnny, oh, I didn't say it. This is the one piece I forgot. When you're doing IAD jump S, do Tatami. Like buffer Tatami special cancels off of it. Just do it, trust me. Just do it. Some of it hit confirms like on counter hit, airborne and stuff like that. What's up, Bridge? You saved me the time to find you. But definitely like I saw a lot of you doing like air dash IAD jump S into like I think JD or something like that. But it's like usually if you're IAD specifically with if you're instant air dashing forward with jump S, you most of the time you just want to lock in Tatami special cancel off of it. Even if they get hit, or how would I put it? Like, it's fine because Tatami comes out and you'll get your offense started. Pretty much anybody that can get hit by IADJS is tall enough that you have enough time that you'll get Tatami out. It's very good. Alright. Trying to catch Citriux crouching. Yeah, the funny part about me teaching people how to fight, how to play their characters is I've taught other people how to beat their characters. So things start to go full circle pretty fast. Oh, nice. Let the ad play. Luckily, I actually don't. I think my Twitch is broken in a good way. I usually only get the first ad, and then I don't tend to get the others. Defense and neutral, your awareness matchups rough. You're clueless on. Oh, you have a new VOD, actually. Give me the new VOD. I just realized this is the TXT from the last time. Post the new VOD. Because you said you had a different one. I'll switch the characters in the meantime. That way they're all kind of like selected. Yeah, thank you. Oh, you're good. I don't really mind. By the way, you have a new vid too. Yeah, that's fine. There was only you guys today, so and I had told you that we can do your session at 4, so I was probably just gonna do bridges and then end my stream and come back at like 4. I'm sure your VOD will be done by then. You did not expect to play another versus 3 versus Fiery? That's kind of hard to believe. Only because, like, I don't know, it seems very likely to me that you guys would just play in TXT again. He tends to enter, and so do you, and you guys tend to perform well, so. That's actually not at all surprising to me, but it's funny that you say that. Alright. Timer's going, notepad's kind of set. We're good. Neutral and defense, everybody's favorite versus Jam. We'll watch, I'm actually gonna skip like the first game. I like skipping the first game when everybody. Oh, this did skip the first game. Fire. I don't know if that was on purpose, but I usually skip like a game or two. Depends on how long the set goes. Good blocks, good blocks. Nice. Juicy crouch confirmed. Look. There's that patented or even damage. Nice call out. It's pretty bold, but it works out. It's kind of far. Alright, just grabs again. This is pretty bad. Jam's HP is like not super relevant in this matchup. Nice catch. Nice. Yeah, we'll talk about it some more, but one of the things is like, and because Spot is another person that's asked for help with Jam. So the thing about Jam's offense that's like important to know is like you can't be passive. If just blocking, you know, is like the game plan, Jam tends to run all over you, like in general for like most characters. because offense is so core to like her identity as a character, like so much more than like other people, right? Like Leo runs offense, but Leo Gatlings are like non-existent. Jam has like open world Gatlings, and it means a lot of the offense that she runs requires you to like have a pretty good idea on what to do for each of them, more so than just like I'm just gonna block it out until something seems safe. That's like never the way you want to fight Jam, and that's usually why Jam mauls so many people defensively. The thing is even when you know what to do, Jam is very RPS-y in the sense that like it'd be dumb if she just had stuff that you could do that shut her down. It's caught. But having a game plan is important. It's caught by the air dash. Low. So we'll cover some of the basics. I'll ask some of the stuff, so that I don't like waste your time on like the usual like defense stuff I cover versus people. We'll talk a little bit about some Jam strings. Honestly, like neutral wise so far, it's pretty alright. I think my big takeaway, like as an observer of this matchup a lot of the times, is like you just kind of that sucks. You just kind of have to assume that that Jam's probably gonna always be ready for glide, like no matter the situation. She has very little recovery on a lot of things. Nice jump. She has very little recovery on things, and nice throw. And it's a very fast input to get out, right? To the point that it's like it's unlikely, I think, that you'd ever get her to neutral. That's like my outsider opinion. Oh, just off on the OS. That's not too bad. This knockdown's like whatever. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that normal. This I dub 5H the Fiery because nobody appreciates Jam 5H like Fiery. That normal is like public enemy #1 for a lot of people. A lot of people don't faultless that normal, and it's very important. Nice catch. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna 6P that. Oh, it's a tough scramble. Should be it, yeah. Yeah, I want to say, well, honestly, I don't really think we need too much more, because I don't see anything like glaringly bad that we need to like watch more. Well, I think we can probably just talk about some of the sequences that she does as a character and some of the things to look out for and things to keep in mind. Let me see. So, talk about some jam pressure stuff, because I think a lot of people don't know. So like, something important to note, a lot of people don't know, I believe, is like this combos on crouch and counter hit, right? 5K, 5H is just a Gatling. Let me open up the, you guys won't see it, but I'll open up the hitbox viewer, because I don't remember a lot of Jam's frame data off the top of my head, but I do know a lot of it's pretty good. I think 5H is +1 or even, I want to say, on regular block. But the tool should let me know. So yeah, so she is +1, yeah. So like this button is like very important to understand, and this sequence is very important to understand, right? If a jam is very oriented around like strike throw the way that Fiery tends to play, something really important to know is something like this, right? So like 5K into throw, right? Let's say like this is the situation, right? This is annoying because it's like you would have to do something like fuzzy throw to kind of like get out of the situation without committing as hard. The problem is like if you were to say mash, she does this combos on counter hit, right? So this situation is like very common for a lot of them to do. Fiery, like notably more than other jams, will do a lot of like setting up frame advantage and then checking into something that will just confirm if you actually mashed into it or got hit crouching, right? Like even non-counter hit crouching just gets hit, right? And the idea is it's a very easy hit confirm, right? You have all day to see that they got hit by this and then commit into the 2D and get your knockdown and jam. The thing that you usually opt for when jams recognize that, like, or like show you they like that normal, is you just faultless that normal wherever they normally tend to use it, right? So like, if I was to do this run up string and I block it, right? She's +1 in a range where she has that that juicy little like 4-frame startup normal that's plus on block, right? But if I was to faultless this, a lot of the times this no longer connects anymore, right? Which doesn't necessarily mean like the end of the world for Jam. She can just press a 5-frame normal that reaches instead, right? My point is like you don't want to get caught in the vortex of always letting her like just rip this on you with no consequences. A lot of the time she has to understand that she's getting pushed out, right? So something like some of them will do is they'll start to do something like this, right? And they'll press far slash to salvage it, right? Because far slash is something they can jump cancel off of. They can box show off of it, though they probably shouldn't because it's not high attack level enough, right? But the essentially my point is like learn to recognize this button as it's happening and like try to faultless it, or learn where they tend to do it and faultless around there if they don't like hold the button for very long. The pushback is important versus Jam. It's not like it stops her, but my point is like you can't let her stay close to you if she's doing stuff like that. That's supposed to be the trade-off of this normal, is the extra hits are oftentimes like pushback fodder, right? Like you just do something like this, and if you faultless all the hits, Jam ends up like even far slash doesn't reach, right? That's like very important, and they'll never do all the hits. Most of the times, Jams are really good. Which brings me to like my next thing. I didn't see you do it, but I do mention it to a lot of people. If Jam does a lot of 2Ks to you, I think it's fine to just block them and know that she's gonna 6H, if that makes sense. 6H is, I would never say it's an overrated normal, but I do think people tend to fear this normal a little bit too much, is the way I would put it. 6H is Jam's only normal, and I'm like fairly certain this is true, although maybe it's not. But I can relatively confidently say this is the only button she has that has no Gatlings as an option and is not jump cancelable, or is not jump cancelable, right? Every other Jam button either has a Gatling or is jump cancelable, right? This is the only one where you have to special cancel the shit. Like 6H is not bad, but predictable in the sense that you have to box show off of it. Like she has to cancel this normal, right? Which is kind of why it's like it's not the end of the world to block this normal for a couple of different reasons, right? My point initially is like something you don't want to do as like almost any character is, so this string has a gap, right? And like I mention it because like, you know, like there's like fancy shit that you can do versus it, right? Like you can throw her out of 6H. That's a thing, right? Are you gonna do it? No. Like nobody's gonna do this in practice when she's mashing a low, right before. But there is a gap here. If you know when they're gonna do it, this is not the advice I'm giving, but I'm just like explaining. So like this has a gap, right? Technically, what is it? Back, yeah. So like, if you know when they're gonna do it, there is a gap. You can always abuse that if it comes into play. I don't believe you can backdash the gap, or at least like if you can, it's like kind of tricky to get the timing again because they're mashing lows before it. The reason I mentioned the gap is not because I'm telling you to try stuff. I'm telling you because it means that if you mash, you get your button a lot of the times versus Jam, right? You get the button that gets counter hit. That gap happens naturally for them. So you don't really want to mash there. And similarly, if I was to hold up, let's say like when the 6H finally comes, this also catches jumps. It catches you like during jump startup too, I'm pretty sure. Like it doesn't, you can't faultless this even if you tried, right? My point is kind of like as they're doing this normal, hey, what's up, Fiery? Or just like doing Jam offense review for bridge right now. As I see this normal, a lot of the times I just kind of let Jams rip it. Because either they're going to cancel into buttons like this, which aren't like as immediately threatening, or more likely than not, they're going to do this and they're going to box show off of it, right? But like I won't usually challenge too much off of like 2K spam like that. This is like a good thing to keep in mind versus some Jams more than others, right? But if I was to say like do a block string like this, right? Certain things are interruptible. It kind of depends. I try to hesitate to tell people like, oh yeah, you should interact with Jam because she's built to like to be able to do something to beat whatever you're doing, right? Essentially. So for example, like I can, let's say she does 6H box show. I can press a button as soon as she special cancels into Bakusho. And, like, most of the time, as long as I press a pretty fast button, like, I'll get it. Right? Like that. I'm not reacting, I'm being preemptive. Right? But again, the reason I get to be preemptive is I know she has to cancel into Bakusho. There's no Gatlings, there's no special cancels. Right? So I know at the very least she's gonna slide. I don't know what follow-up she's picking, right? But if you look at it from, like, let's say a Jam's POV, Puffball is frame advantage, and that's only if you don't instant block it, by the way. If you are comfortable getting this, she's -3, right? It's not the end of the world. She can backdash, she can just reset in different ways. Shoot, she could Hochifu in place if she wanted to. My point is that she doesn't have frame advantage if you instant block that. But it takes a while to get used to instant blocking things like that, and you don't know how they're going to time it, because they don't have to do Puffball immediately. They can ride Bakusho a little bit and then Puffball, so it's not an easy instant block, right? But even if you were to, say, be a little bit more aggressive, the moment I get hit by 6H, a lot of the times you can just check, right? The moment it happens. Like, oh, okay, I'll just press this button, right? Why? Because Jam kind of has to opt for something like this to frame trap you for doing that, right? Let's see if I can get the timing. Oh, that's still, like, way too frame tight. That might be too much room. That might be good. Right, so frame trap, right? This punishes you immediately mashing. The difference is that once Jam commits to this, she kind of has to now do one of the other kicks, right? The idea is that blocking this feels better than blocking Puffball, right? And representing, like, one good mash on a Puffball might be enough to get Jam players to not always Puffball, right? So then she'll do this, right? And you're like, okay, this is insanely minus on its own. Like, when it's spaced out, they might not get punished depending on character's frame data. Although / might be fast enough, honestly, for Raven to consistently punish it. Because it's only 10 frame startup. So let's say, like, even if Jam did something like this, it's, like, spaced out. Right? This is, like, -15, I think. So you, like, / is a punish. You know, like, this is a punish. The thing is, they will never, it's not never, but because it's so minus, yeah, Jams are going to cancel again, more often than not, like that, right? And that's why you get put in that situation, right? It kind of varies from that point, like, character to character, I find. I want to say Raven might actually be able to stance. Stance is, like, the one thing where, like, let's say, and I can't, like, say for sure, because I don't actually know a lot of these strings, but, like, let's say they do this. Actually, I wonder if stance is fast enough if I know that they're gonna... Nah, you'd have to instant block. I'm curious about Bakusho. Oops. Even on regular block. Yeah, so same with mashing. Immediate stance right after Bakusho is going to check. I'm gonna honestly wager that if you instant block the 6H, again, I don't like to assume people will just be able to instant block things, but I want to assume if you can instant block the 6H that you might actually just be able to stance here versus, like, basically everything that Jam does, but maybe not. Damn, that 5 frames is hurting, dude. He really needs that 4 framer. I bet that shit worked if it was 4 frames, but yeah. You can stance on Puffball, but not on the frame trap, it looks like. Right. But is this helping, like, demystify some of, like, how Jam's pressure is structured and sort of, like, where you're more incentivized to interact with her and where you're not? No. It looks like you can't get stance on split kicks, but you can get it on Bakusho into Puffball. The thing I kind of tell people is, like, you'll never really be able to, like, shut down Jam offense, and if you can, that's probably a bad matchup for Jam because it's such a big part of her toolkit, being able to be oppressive. But I do think learning to recognize, like, oh yeah, you know, like, they tend to do 6H and then Puffball is, like, important, right? Because it's like there's room for trying to instant block it. There's room for gambling here instead, right? She's only +1, right? Which means, like, you could just rip super every now and then, right? The big thing is, like, I think Jam is important to know where you want to interact with her. and how you want to interact with her. If you don't, then she tends to just check you for free a lot, and that's kind of like where things get out of hand sometimes for Jam. But yeah, essentially, understand how 6H works, understand she has to cancel. 2D is kind of the same. The difference is she can jump cancel it. She doesn't have to slide off of 2D, but a lot of the times Jams will slide off of 2D. Like this. Kind of same situation. 2D is actually a lot easier to contest. I bet 2D, if you instant block it, like now probably like, let me see. Oh my god, such a hard instant block to get. So fast. Dude, that's a hard instant block to get. You're probably thinking, she Gatling circles all around. This goes out of the window. She just decides to press nothing but 5k. So I was gonna get there. If they do this, Jam is not a character I pick a lot of things on reaction versus. And I was gonna cover 5k, but we might as well talk about it now. So this sequence is oppressive, right? Because it's hard to contest. If you are immediately mashing, you can win sometimes. It depends on your character, right? But the frame advantage is really scary. It's hard to hit this timing. If Jam does a lot of 5k staggers, I kid you not, I just hold up and I get out most of the time. For Raven, I would imagine it's not holding up and getting out, but probably holding up and running away. Or honestly, even like this is maybe fine. Is it K? No, P is the steep one. Do something like this. Right? But a lot of the times, it's tougher for Raven for sure, because as everybody else, I would hold up and then air dash out like that. But this is a gamble. Like, I do this preemptively like that. Without the intention of like trying to hit them. I actually just want to get away. But if they're pressing 5k, I just hold up. I hold up with the intention of trying to get out. Again, it's tough because you can only move back. You can't move through her. But even moving back should be fine, honestly. Jump S seems like it'd be pretty good if you just like represented it like this. Even in the corner, right? Just something I was going to talk about. Where if you find that you're getting anti-aired a lot by, let's say, this situation. Right, so a little slower. A little faster. That might be too fast. Yeah. Yeah, Twitch ad, it's fine. I'm recording something anyway. I think it's really funny. I would probably like get rid of my Twitch partner membership thing, honestly, if it was like an option. Because it's not like I care that like I use the emote slots for anything, and they don't run ads as much on channels that aren't partnered, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I was also gonna mention this is like a pretty okay thing to introduce in the corner. You can't really do it in the middle of the screen. Well, I mean you can, but you won't get the punish. You just kind of have to assume they're gonna rip Hochifu. Use your air dash to change the rate at which you fall, right? So instead of doing this and getting duffed because Jam doesn't give a fuck, right? I would do jump and then air dash and then do that. Jump S is like a pretty good normal for this. Not everybody has a good normal for this kind of thing, but jump S is pretty good. I would try this a little bit. It will get them to at least change the timing they do this in. They will not get to always just rip Hochifu, or I think even 6P should miss or get punished in this timing. Yeah, like that. Right? And again, like my honest to god game plan is like sometimes if jams are just doing dang, it's not combo. If they're just like mashing on 5Ks, then yeah, I'll just hold up personally. The killer, there isn't parry, it's the JS. Well, if they JS, then you press a button instantly. You have to RPS with this character, unfortunately. There's no real getting around it. But if they were to say do this and then jump SU like this, then yeah, you just press a button like right away. I would press a button right away and get my hit, right? But I don't want to press a button because they could parry, right? You have to deal with that situation, but you do kind of have to like acknowledge which options are for what. Jam is a character that will force interaction on you, whether you like it or not. But if I suspect that she's going to do jump S, say, like as an air-to-air immediately, then I'll press my jump S immediately and get my punish. Oh yeah, you don't press JD here. Don't press JD. I'll tell you, even like, notice how even for like the grounded shit I told you not. No, press jump S. You're pressing the wrong button. Hell, 100%. Press jump S, bro. Raven jump S is the button here. Do not press jump D. Jump D is for characters that don't just chase you instantly. Or characters that have actual like recovery on their normals. You get a punish too, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, don't use JD. Don't use JD. Again, we don't like super finish covering the flowchart, but that is like a lot of the jam stuff, right? Is understanding like when she's using 6H, understand that she has to cancel more likely than not. This button is -6, right? Like it's not likely that she's not gonna cancel it, right? To be more resourceful with your double jump. I think it's little things, right? Like if you suspect that they're gonna do the parry, you kind of just have to do this. It's also -6 on parry cancel. I've never seen it. I would literally never assume a jam player would do that. Like that's one of those things where it's the same reason I have to assume jalapeno Cheetos suck, because I've never seen anybody buy them. If they were good, people would buy them. They do parry cancel on DP baits. I would just like backdash, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I guess it makes sense. It's just interesting. But yeah, 6H, you have to understand that they have to cancel, right? Here's a 6H is common. All right, word, you know. I like never see it. I always see Baksho more often than not. It's a very default option, right? I guess the last thing I'll cover is, and I figure I kind of know the answer because like most people know it, but do you know about fuzzy blocking Baksho slide when she has the card? And like I asked because a lot of people do already know about this, but like some people don't, I guess. Right? In other words, like whether they do this or whether they do right? Right? Because that is something that is very blockable in the sense that the jam player has to use the split kick differently in order to catch you fuzzy blocking it. But I ask because you might already know about that, honestly. Plug in my phone. It's like running out of battery. Not a rhetorical question, by the way. Let me know if you... you know the fuzzy jump, the problem is that it requires you to see the cancel and recognize it? No, I'm talking about blocking Karageki with the fuzzy block. Not fuzzy jumping. Like you block low and then you block high and it will block split clicks or it will block Karageki. So that she doesn't get to open you up with that all the time. Not that like that was happening, but it's more like I specify because not everybody is comfortable with that block. So like this sequence, as it's happening, I won't get opened up by jam. And I'm not like gaslighting myself. It's just the idea is like, you're talking a fuzzy FD jump there. Me personally, I'd just block it because I think it's fine to block jam there. I think jumping would be more dangerous potentially because you don't necessarily want to block. Well, this is my take. If somebody told you differently, you know, like more power to them. But she's minus off this Gekirin anyway. So it's like, I've never minded just blocking her there. Because she's never really plus off of that Gekirin when you block it. Like, it varies how much she's minus. But she's generally minus off of that. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was gonna say. Not though that's easier said than done, Fiery. But yes, I was gonna say the idea of this sequence is as you're doing like the fuzzy block, you can kind of like learn a timing that will catch a lot of things for Jam, right? But it's up to you. If you like fuzzy jumping there, go for it. I think just regular blocking is fine. Once you block the low, she kind of has to enter the same situation. Well, that's the thing is, she has to, Jam is pressing those buttons, you know? Like, briefly, we're gonna watch, like, and if she's not, then it usually means you're probably not representing something enough. We'll watch, like, a random instance of it. We'll probably see, like, a good chunk of it, honestly. Let's see. See how many times 2D is blocked. 2D gets armored. It's just one of those, or you might need to, like, just practice recognizing it. Faultless defense or jumping here, right? And it just depends what they're doing. Faultless defensing would push out here and force her to commit. 2D just happened. Yeah. Again, passive defense versus Jam is the enemy, in my opinion. Regular blocking your life away versus Jam is like, she doesn't care. She really doesn't. So a lot of it is recognizing, like, the different tools that you have to use. This is cool. Right. Watch a little bit. There's an awkward interaction. Click buttons. 6H? You know she has the buckshot. Puffball. She's only plus here. It's not a guaranteed string. Could buy. What do you do versus 2D ID? Honestly, you don't think your 6P works there? Nobody's 6P works there. You're not supposed to. It depends. If she's greedy, which they're usually, like, not that greedy, but let's say they do... let me see. Oh, I'm on random. I was wondering why I didn't want to save the recording. I'll sometimes try to air throw it. You can, like, stone hat this shit, I'm pretty sure, if they're doing JP, right? If you don't know what stone hatting means, it's like basically holding forward when they're gonna IED, and they'll go through you like that. This works versus some normals, not versus others. Works versus some IEDs, not others, right? It's also a very scary thing because you commit to it like the moment you see the button happening, like 2D. Right? I'm just like, oh, he's probably gonna IED, and I'll just like do it like that. You know, you can get out like that. I blitz. Universal mechanics exist, man. Like, when I see this, sometimes I'll just blitz as they fall on me. Right? I use blitz quite a bit here personally. Again, you can, I think you can, she's a character where, like, if you IB this, you can throw it. But it's, like, pretty obnoxious to get. I think she is. Don't quote, yeah, see? But again, easier said than done. I think it's a lot easier to hold forward if you're worried about IED, or wait for the IED and represent a blitz. Yeah, walk under is pretty good in the sense that it's gonna get her to start pressing Bakusho again. You can also just like walk and then crouch the other way, but you got to react to like quite a few things here if you're walking forward and doing that. Yeah, that too. Even if she picks IDJH, you would be out of the corner like this, like that. See? You can block out of the corner, and now like if you're getting duffed by mid-screen IAD like JH and shit, that tells me like you just got to be more patient. She shouldn't get to do this to you in the middle of the screen. It's only something that should be like super oppressive in the corner. And if Jam is IEDing at you like in the middle of the screen, you're either a really tall character who hates your life because of it, or more often than not, you're like being too predictable and you're just holding up like this, you know, and she's catching you. But like mid-screen IED, that's just a kind of a joke most of the time. Her buttons aren't like a good spacing for it a lot of the times. Does that kind of give you an answer to the question? Those are like, off the top of my head, those are solutions. I mean, you could stance too, but it's not going to improve your circumstances, honestly. If I was to like stance off of the IED, it wouldn't really like necessarily help, but stancing should also work, honestly. What's up, random person that uses caps? Let me see. Yeah. Again, the big thing is like, To me, jam is not a character I go, oh, there's that really long reactable thing I always react to. It's like, nope. A lot of the times I'll see this button and be like, he's probably gonna IED. You know, and like my things I do on reaction IED is just like blitz because I have the time to do it later. But if I'm like walking out of the corner, I do that shit right away. Like, I do it the moment I see 2D, personally. Right? Same with like moment 6H happens. I'm just like, if I'm gonna gamble defensively on the box show, I'm gonna do it right away. I'm not gonna like hesitate. Right? But there are a lot of moments, right? Like we'll watch a little bit and we'll see them as they come up, and we've mostly covered like basically all like level 1 jam type of interactions. That it's like, right? So you walk out there. You did actually walk out there, coincidentally, because the 6P will move you. But yeah, nobody 6Ps that shit. Nobody 6Ps jam IED really. Like out of the corner. Nobody can really 6P IEDs out of the corner most of the time. 6H, box show football, right? 6H, special cancel, right? And then the exclamation point tells me you were just holding up. Throw. Stuff. Doesn't kill. It's like pretty chill. And then like my personal advice is like, when you find that 6H is bullying you in neutral, me personally, depending on my character's options, I'll just stop interacting. Like I'll just block it. Like she has to do box shows off of it. So like if she wants to do it all day, I'll let her do it all day, if that makes sense. So, we didn't actually watch the first game, so we'll watch some pressure sequences for like the last minute or so, and we'll see what comes up. All right, 6H gets hit. 5H faultless defensing means that this far slash at the very least is not like going to be nearly as good. She's at the end of it, so she just can't do as much. Far slash box show. Still got a block. Getting caught. This is also like I think a habit people kind of have versus jam, where it's like I don't think you should like, depending on your character, I think holding up versus jam is whack, like defensively. I think jam is pretty fucking good at dealing with people just holding up. She just recovers anyway. There's PDC, that shit's busted. Yeah, I also never really mash immediately versus jam on wake up. Sometimes as Baiken you get that privilege, but most of the time, not really. I'm picking some invulnerable option or nothing. Too high, but this shit's basically over. $2D. 6H. She's got a box show. Far slash, you gotta assume that she's gonna 2D or that she's going to she's probably gonna box show or 2D or IAD. Like one of those three things. 6H gets caught on the jump. Boom. Safe jump, not just 5k. Yeah, I like blitz a lot. I think there's a lot of things you can do. I like blitz a lot versus jams that like insist on mashing on air dash, because you can press blitz as late as now and you'll get it, basically. That 6P was you gambling on far slash ID. It still wouldn't win. I'm like almost positive. That's just like, take my word for it. That's just like how the game works. Generally speaking, like shit like that doesn't catch. But it depends. Oh, sorry, in the corner. In the corner, people have a tendency to like cross you up as things happen. And 6Ps almost always like whiff. I guess he has a pretty good one for this, but a lot of the times the big thing is like this happens. Essentially the same reason that you can do this and get out is the same reason 6Ps versus IEDs in the corner fucking suck most of the time. But I guess Ravens is okay. But you don't get anything, so it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't do this. Personally, me, I wouldn't do this shit. If this shit's not counter hitting, fuck that. They took the jump cancel off that shit, dude. It's not worth it. I'll just do this. You can throw. I think you can also like throw this before she can JP sometimes, but depends. Nothing off that 6P or slightly. Normally works there. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. But I do think Jam is the type of person where it's tough if you don't have. I'll say this because like we're pretty much. I don't have any other like big things to note. But Jam is tough if you're not comfortable recognizing like block strings. Right. I think she is very punishing versus people that are, and this is like a lot. It takes a long time to get used to like actually looking at strings and being like, oh, this is the normal, you know, and reacting and picking the response to that normal, right? I think for a while, a lot of people's defensive game plan generally orients around like chilling until you see something with big hit stop, like a heavy slash normal, which is like less of the case with her. The character would have her moves look the same. I don't know. People say shit like that. Only 5H and 2H, and that's it. Those are like the only two buttons I feel like look the same to me on her. 2K and 2D, I guess, look kind of the same, but honestly, I kind of don't. I don't think I think much of it because they're used kind of the same way. But having like trained responses to her stuff is really important if you don't have like an invincible option to represent. If you don't have something that passively earns, not passively, but like just kind of easily earns respect versus frame advantage, like a DP, a really good backdash, a zombie, etc., right? Then like, yeah, Jam is tough. Like Jam is really hard if you don't have one of those things and you gotta like just survive naturally defensively, right? Even just having like good air movement can help. Right, because Milia doesn't necessarily have like those things, her backdash is okay, but no invul option, winger's ass, right? But she can get out, right? Or I know how you feel in the sense that answer's basically the same. Right? Answer, you have to actually just defend versus Jam, just the honest way, know how her strings work. Yeah, hopefully that gives you some stuff. It doesn't mean the matchup's any easier. It's just more like, you should train yourself to faultless defense her multi-hits. Recognize when they're just doing 6H so that you can block it and learn to interact with Baksho. Whether it's trying to IB puffballs to take away her frame advantage, whether it's checking immediately to force them to use split kicks more often so that they're at least forced to either use cards or meter to continue their offense. Or... yeah, I mean, that's like basically it. Those are like the big things. And then like little things. The problem with her is the same thing it is with characters like Answer for people, where it's like some people have to learn the other character's offense. You don't have a choice. Right? Answer kind of does that to some people too. Where people are like, oh, well, how do I like get around it? And it's like, well, you don't. You specifically have to like interact with my bullshit, you know? And defense is infinitely harder than offense. You're pretty sure you get hit by Far Slash if you try and stance after you IB Puff? Yeah, that sounds about right. You're only +3. Stance isn't your fastest option. 4P is your fastest option. Isn't it? Am I tripping? Also, you wouldn't press Far Slash there. Puffball is not like a button. You press like 2K, man. They're both 5 frames. Hers is 6. No, you're just slow. You shouldn't. You would trade at worst. But there's other ways to play that situation. You could. No, she's minus a bit, actually. She's only +1. She's -3. Yeah, you should... hold on. I'll show this one thing and then we'll cut it. Because I don't have to... yeah, that's a... that's definitely like a you thing. She's definitely like -3. In my head, I thought she was -1. But you could definitely press stance or 4P. Or like a pretty fast normal. Like, no way that's not the case. We'll do it real quick. Real quick. Drive by. So I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's... Oh my god, that's delayed. Oh. Yeah, that's it. Like on IB, 100%. I thought you meant like regular. Which you still get. Yeah, I was like, I was doing the math for regular block. I was like, do you get it? On IV, yeah. Yeah. On IB, you can press your own button and you're faster than Jam here. Yeah. Again, it all depends where she does it. If she does it over here, you have to press a different button. And then maybe you're not fast enough, but... You should usually be faster. She's -3. It's a big deal. Alright. I'm gonna cut the VOD here. Alright, hold on. Let me open up YouTube, and then I'll go back to using that for music. I'm not gonna lie, I don't actually know if Toho Music is okay, but I've never been called out for using it, so I will continue to use it. That seems like pretty good. I don't want it like actually being too loud. And then I'll open up the new VOD. It says video is unavailable. Video content contains WMG who has blocked it in your country on copyright grounds. You gotta not use copyright music in your VODs. Yep. That's fine. I saw that it was versus Y, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes when people, the thing is you can analyze almost anything, but it's gonna be a lot of you just getting kicked by 5K probably. Where's the old one? But yes, that video does. I'll show you. I'm not dodging. Look, if I open up that VOD. It definitely just tells me like, nope, you're not available from WMG. They said you can't use their music. What does it say? Anything specific? Okay. Nothing specific. We can watch most of this. That's not that long. We'll skip the first like bit. You have music playing? No, that's fine. I don't save my audio when I stream or record things if it's DMCA. You can just set it up in OBS to save a little differently, and it'll prevent that from happening. We could probably watch all of this. It's only like 10 minutes long, but we'll move this on the side real quick. Breed Sever. That's not gonna knock down. JD. Yeah, Kai tech scrambles are a little bit of a trap, in the sense that just because he doesn't knock down on vapor thrust doesn't really like put people in much of a better spot. A lot of the times teching back is always preferred, just so that you don't like fold into a lot of the stuff he's normally gonna do. It's kind of far, yeah. Knockdown, Pineberry. Okay, meaty. An awkward knockdown. Oh, a little too close. tough because chip is a factor. That was a lot of... I wouldn't have guessed the blitz and bull would have lasted that long. I can't believe Kai 2D is like 7 frames or whatever the fuck it is. That shit's crazy. Safe jump, yep. Just backdash. It's kind of high up. He's got to do double vapor thrust, but he doesn't get good Oki. Oh, he does. God damn. I can't believe that CL hits Elphelt still. That CL is very like character dependent. Trying to do a lot of things Aether told you to try out versus Kai. I didn't catch your conversation with him, so I'm not too sure, but I believe it. There's a couple things I'll make note of. There's a couple things to like keep in mind, I think, versus Kai that are like important. We'll talk a little bit about burst points too. Though honestly, there hasn't been like too many of the ones I usually take, but we'll talk about it. It's like the first thing I'll talk about. I think burst points can help a lot in like frustrating matchups, because I just basically like default to using my burst when it's guaranteed. It's gonna be a little awkward with the pine bears there. Send the burst fast. That was scary. Kai actually has a really good punish on that, potentially. King's elbow. Misses the air dash. That was probably supposed to be air dash JS or the OQ. Off the backboard. Oh, but the height's a little off. I like Pineberry doing stuff. Watch like this one and maybe like one more, but I'd imagine that's probably most of it anyway. No, we'll watch this one and whenever one more is, but I think I've seen like most of the stuff I'm like gonna suggest / talk about already. Okay. Maybe he does want close. That's kind of weird. It's the second time I see land in a close slash, which I'm assuming is supposed to be IDJS. Every time you play them, you get fucked. Kai is a pretty get fucked kind of character if you swing into him recklessly. That's just like the way he's built. Hey, that is technically one of the burst points you want to do versus Kai. That one is not guaranteed, though. That one is like an assumption that he wants to do his good combo. Catch on the high, takes their burst. Yeah, see, they've been trying to get that like every time, is my guess. That's going to hurt even on the prorated starter. Knocked down into Pine, but RTL, yeah, I was about to say RTL is kind of free. Nice. Frame trap isn't gonna hurt. DP. That's definitely too far for anything. Yeah. Catch. Wake up throw. Yeah, tough spot. Kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Oh, spooky. The fat finger. Send ever, but this knockdown's like relatively chill. I'm gonna check, by the way, but I'm like pretty sure Elphelt backdash clears late air dash JS unless they delayed the JS, which then loses the throw OS, I think. This doesn't kill, but it almost kills. Yeah, pretty much anything kills at that point. Knockdown. Let's see. I was hella lucky that popped on him. Oh. Yeah, it's like one more, but I think I got everything up. I will preface this with is there a specific thing about Kai you don't know what to do about? Before I do my like, oh, I saw this. Because it's easy for me to say, I think you should do this. But if that's not what what you usually hate about Kai, he just runs you down. Is there like a specific thing? I mean, you know, sometimes it just feels like they do whatever they want, and I get that. But it's like, is there a specific thing he keeps doing that you feel like? It's hard to push him off you. Okay, see, like that's pretty specific. We'll talk about a little bit of Kai's offense if that's the case. We'll talk about it, and we'll show off some of the... I won't call them like downsides, because maybe that's putting it too strongly, but Kai has like specific kind of points in his pressure usually where I think you're supposed to like look for stuff essentially, right? So we'll cover like a couple of the obvious things. Obvious as in like you'll see them a lot. So this button, let me open up the frame tool real quick too. If I'm not mistaken, 6K is like +2 or 3? 3 sounds like a lot, but 1 sounds like a little, so it might just be like +2. But +2 is like they don't really make things like +2 in this game. Well, actually, that's not true. But +2 does not sound right for the normal. Hold on, I'm just opening up the overlay tool real quick, since it has frame data. But yeah, the reason this normal comes up all the time is he gets a Gatling a lot, and it's plus on block. It's +4. Oh shit. So 6K is +4. He can do it off of like almost any normal. I want to say like you can do 2K 6K, 2P 6K, 2S 6K. Kai can do this button from like basically every button in his toolkit, I want to say, except obviously like big buttons like this, but like even 5H you can 6K, right? So you'll see this button a lot. It is worth noting, frame advantage does not mean he gets to do whatever he wants necessarily, right? So like the elephant in the room is if you see this come out from him, you can rip a super, right? Kai only has 5 frame options, so as long as you regularly block that, because I want to say on faultless, he's probably like an extra 2 frames or something. But as long as you're regularly, yeah, he's extra 2. As long as you're regularly blocking this button, whatever he does afterwards will always have a gap, right? He's plus, you don't want to fuck with him. But like, for example, right? Super will work if you ever have the 50 bar. It's a little tight to get. I won't pretend it's easy, but you can also backdash a lot of the things that he'll do there. Again, because Kai doesn't have anything that will ever jail you off of this. Although, again, the backdash is very tight to hit because he's a plus enough that he's like, you can blitz. So anything that you can do when you're actionable, you're just not plus. He's +4, but you're actionable. So you can blitz. Blitz is a little scary because you don't know if he'll press a mid or a low, right? And Kai kind of has equivalent reason to press either one. He doesn't feel like he needs to press one over the other necessarily. So you can blitz, but you would have to know what normal he's opting for, which can be very scary, right? Whereas supering doesn't really matter what he picks, obviously. Same with backdashing, right? I want to say he's still plus on IB. Let me see. He's like +1, I think. No, he's even. Wow, that has a really interesting attack level on it. So he's even if you IB this, which means you can press a button. You could press your 2P, and if you did it correctly, you would beat every button that he has in terms of speed, right? I don't usually like to assume people will just IB things. Plus, that button goes really far, so you might not get to press 2P all the time. But I would say it is worth learning to interact with that normal a little bit, like just backdashing a little bit here and there, and etc. And it'll kind of like incentivize Kai to chase your backdash, which means like maybe you'll get away with mashing, or more likely like jumping is a pretty safe thing. You can, I believe, jump out of this if he picks. No, you can't. My bad, because he's +4. Yeah, so you can't jump out of everything. There's not enough. Can you 2D there? That's your startup. 6 frames. Is that what that is? 6? No, that's 8. I wouldn't 2D there. He's got way faster normals if you were going to 2D there. Again, I wouldn't hyper-fixate on it. I'm not suggesting you mash. I'm just like, there's a gap here. More realistically, try to super it every now and then if you have bar, or try to backdash it. If you see that normal. You'll see that normal come out on sequences like this from Kai a lot. Stuff like 2K, 5H, which also has a gap naturally, by the way. Be careful about this button. You don't really want to mash at the beginning of Kai's block strings too much. If you were to mash on this has a gap. It also like has a gap that catches you holding up, right? Again, kind of the same thing technically. You could blitz the string, right? I'm less trying to get you to like always do something and more like recognize a couple situations, right? Like this button tends to go into this, and then you'll be in this situation where it's like, yeah, if you want to backdash, like try to backdash. It's kind of hard to get it. Faultless defensing, I think, is also pretty solid after 6K, because like you're already minus, and like you kind of might as well push him out, right? So if he does something like, because Kai's going to press a fast normal more likely than not to frame trap you. That's not necessarily true, but like look at this, right? So if he does this and then I push him out, he starts to build some distance, like pretty notably, right? That is like usually where I'll like try to fish for it a little bit more. Because again, it's less likely that he'll do something like this, right? Like, he's not going to throw you off of 6K. That's not a thing he does. So push blocking should also be like pretty okay more often than not. Other thing, what else does he have that's plus? 5H is plus, but it doesn't matter too much. This is plus though. It's like plus, it's only +1. I was gonna say, I thought it was +2. It's +1. Again, it doesn't matter like too much, because it's like he's not really in range for that much shit that's fast anyway. It's just like maybe he frame traps you, but a lot of the times it's like not a big deal. Mostly focusing on 6K is important. 6H is also important. Ideally, people tell you like faultless defense and then instant blocking is like the best way to go about it. If you find that difficult, I think faultless defensing and then regular blocking is fine, right? In other words, if you see this, I think this is fine, but you do generally want to try to faultless defense the first hit of 6H like that. The extra distance helps more than you think. So in other words, like I'll stand like Let me see. I'll just have him run up and do his string. Yeah. So like, if he does this, far slash hits like for sure. If he gets pushed, whoops, wrong thing. If he gets pushed out a bit, like it might hit, but it'll hit like its tip. So it's like a lot of the times in this, well, I guess I'll just look at the distance, right? My far slash hits. Far slash hits. And I think if wait, I'm not faultless defensing the actual hit. Now it doesn't, right? And now his far slash, yeah, see? So like, this extra distance can help you out sometimes, is basically what I'm getting at. The thing if you find that he's just like running you down, a lot of it is probably this move, if I had to guess. It's probably a little bit of this move, but not as much. This move is also something, if you find that they're very predictable with where they 6H, you can usually hold up out of like most buttons that'll go into it that aren't close slash. I think close slash you can't hold up, yeah, because he'll usually catch you with it. But let's say he's doing like any button like this, or sometimes they'll do, no, it's usually 2S, but sometimes they'll do it off of like this. And like if you ever think 6H is coming, you could probably hold up versus it too. But again, a lot of times it is safer to like see the button and then try to faultless one hit. And then if you want to try to IB the second hit, that's what you're supposed to do. Right, like that. And it's like you kind of push yourself out and then you make him a lot less plus than he normally is. He's still very plus, but not as much as usual. Right? I think it's also one of those things where on paper he shouldn't get to go crazy versus you forever. At some point in his offense, Kai had to have extended his turn more than he was allowed to, right? Even if you were to block something like this, you can kind of start pushing him out right after a lot of the times. Faultless defense is pretty important versus Kai. You just kind of want to avoid faultlessing like the later hit of this if he's already on top of you, and you want to avoid trying to faultless defense this because it doesn't really like 6K doesn't really get pushed out like that much on faultless defense. It's about the same as like if you had just like regularly blocked it. It's farther, but he's gonna hit you with like everything he normally would. But faultless defense will help you a bit. I also think mashing. So it's like the other thing is I also don't think mashing into Kai is like that great unless you're pressing this and you kind of know where you're pressing it. Right? Like situations like if he does this for whatever reason, like you should be able to. Let me see. You should be able to, like, maybe hit him? No, I think you have to 2H. Even 2H gets hit. No, yeah, it's just, like, he's not really, like, certain characters can mash versus Kai, but he's not a character that, like, cares a lot of the times if you're, like, mashing buttons out towards him, especially if there's distance between you guys. Kai is a lot more the kind of character where once you kind of push him out to here, let's say, you usually just like opt for super jump, pine pulls like that, and it's a pretty like tough thing for him to call out if he doesn't just wait for you to do it and call it out, right? But let's say a Kai is doing a block string that looks like this, right? So if he does this, I'm going to backdash, right? Like on the gap. Oh, it's super late. It like always throws me off how much blocks on that move has. Let me see. I want to see the timing. It's a lot easier for me to get the timing off of blitz. There it is. Oh, this is like okay. Alright, so like something like that, right, is what I'm getting at when I say like when you see that button, you have a lot of time to go like, oh, he did that button, so you just do your backdash like that. Right, and you'll punish him. Kai is usually pretty bad at catching shit like that, unless he just assumed you were gonna backdash, right? And waits and then catches your backdash. If he did that, then you probably could have fuzzy jumped out, you know, or just held up if you're like brave enough, you know. The tricky part I think that gets a lot of people with Kai is that you might be able to dodge certain things and then press buttons, or like fuzzy jump out once he respects you, but he's not a good character to like ever feel like, well, I think he's going to respect me, so I'm going to mash now. I don't think that's the mentality you like really want versus Kai. Like ever. I think it's either you dodge things into your own buttons with backdash, which hopefully builds respect. Obviously, you could super too. The things that will get him to slow down and let you kind of escape. But I do think escaping in general is a little bit better, especially because normally you have a range advantage, but that's not really the case anymore with Elphelt. The only thing you have that like might outrange him is like this, and like that still struggles with far slash depending on like the spacing, you know. That it's like it's kind of hard to adjust because you are no longer the one with superior range, which is like a big thing. So I would say trying to. There's one thing you have learned about this matchup. You can do. Kai can do it better. Not necessarily. But I do get that he can do it like easier for sure. Right? But again, like buttons like this, you can backdash a lot of the times and get scrambles out of them, etc. Backdashing 6k, supering 6k is good. 6H, honestly, if you block it and he's in range for this button, you should kind of respect it. You should usually respect 6H after he does it. Sometimes, depending on what he does, it's not a true block string. But, I mean, like, your options aren't necessarily all that great anyway. And when he's in range for stuff like this, you don't want to fuck with it. Like, you will not win this interaction. This is, like, actually just a true block string, I'm pretty sure, with how much frame advantage. If you block 6H... just kind of assume that you should probably faultless defense a little bit of what comes after. Try to push Kai out towards this range. Or not, that's too close. So like him eventually doing something like this. Once he does that, you guys at least have equivalent range, right? Like his only thing you're worried about here is far slash generally, right? So as Elphelt, like I'd probably just wait and see if he far slashes. And if he does, like again, he's going to push himself out like too far to really do anything here. He can stuff you if he's good about it, but now at least you won't mash into any of his fast stuff. If you're gonna press something, you're gonna like move into it, you know, or you could just IAD maybe, etc. But I find when I was watching, there's just a lot of moments. There's a lot of like preemptive mashing, and Kai again, like natural block, like there's a natural gap there. I think this is like the easy, like this frame trap is really easy to do. 2P close slash is really easy to do. It's scary. Close slash 6H has like a natural gap on it that like fucks up a lot of people. Like if you press a button, you'll like get a shitty trade like that basically always, right? And that's assuming you get your button really early. He's not someone you want to mash too much versus. Try to push him out and then fight with the extra distance a little bit if you can. 5H is okay, but it's scary. And backdash the frame advantage he represents with 6k. My thing I was going to say, like my observation is I think you just have to slow it down more versus Kai. I don't think you can play it the way you normally would. So something like really obvious to note is like, let's say Kai hits you with like one of these. Right? For demonstrative purposes. So like, I'm not going to do anything with Kai, but I'm going to show you. So every time Kai DPs you, even if you can tech buttons don't reach Kai ever off of this shit. If Kai wants to, he can move forward and anti-air you. But most Kais probably won't, unless they're really greedy, right? But the big thing is like, you don't really want to tech into him, I think. Especially because you're just going to land in the range where his buttons are more likely to get mileage than yours. If you get hit by one of these as Kai, in my opinion, a lot of the times I'll take the tech back like that. Because Kai isn't good at actually like just running at you a lot of the times. Like he can try, but you could definitely like catch him on the way in as most characters. Or jump back and like evade his approach. But don't really tech into him. That's never going to work more often than not. If you're going to tech into Kai, if you feel the need to do some tech button scrambles, you got to be like at least this close. You got to be like teching around here. Like it has to feel like a messed up combo, etc, etc. But don't tech into him after this. It's just playing into a lot of what he wants. If you tech away, it's fine. A lot of the times you'll probably get to tech away and pull a Pineberry if I had to guess. Pineberry is interesting. Pineberry, I'm gonna imagine, let me see. I think it gets negated, but I don't remember. Yeah, it gets negated, right, by seals, so it doesn't put in as much mileage. But I also think it's worth noting, like, Kai is obnoxious, but I think as as long as you don't do too many like haphazard approaches. The thing I was going to say about Kai that makes him really annoying is like, if you were to draw like a figurative bubble around Kai, where the bubble's range is dictated by this normal, basically. This normal in a box. So like going up in like a whole like little direction around him, right? If you make contact versus Kai, and you end up in this spacing where this is an option for him, you just like most of the time have to block. If you didn't knock him down, that shit is probably gonna own you, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean like, if you did something like this, but you're like slightly off and you do like this, let's say, or like let's do it from like over here, right? Let's say you do that. Hold on, let me do like this. So let's say you do that. That doesn't knock down, right? In fact, like you're actually a little bit minus there, hitting it so high. I will never, as like a character that's not Baiken, I won't press things here versus Kai. Bro is just gonna mash like all the time. Same with like air situations. Like anytime you end up in this range versus Kai, I just block that shit. Like you won't win that interaction, believe me. It's obnoxious, but if you don't recognize that you didn't knock him down, right? Like that's a knockdown, so no biggie, right? But if you say did something like this and you messed up, just let that shit go, man. You just have to go back to blocking. You will basically always lose that exchange versus Kai, and he gets really good reward off mashing this button. Right? That it's, in my opinion, like you want to be careful. And again, the teching into him in that range, look at the range that you end up in. You're like right outside this range, right? If he does this, right? Let's do it from like over here. If he does this, you tech into him like this. Oh shit, I actually hit. I was like a little too close when I did my DP. I should have added a couple hits. Right, so like, let's say you do this. You're like right in the range where bro's gonna mash it. Like, you have to be very careful where you tech. The perimeter around Kai is really obnoxious on the ground. I would say you want to like slow it down, tech away from him. Pull Pineberry and throw it. Like, still, you kind of have to try it. The big thing that I tell people is, like, you might not be making progress, but neither is he. And the thing is he wants you to run at him. Like, Kai wants you to run at him. As a character, that's, like, what he wants most of the time. Right? You run forward, he presses this, or this, or this, or etc. Right? Like, he's like built to just run away and do things like this. And if you get hit by this JH, this 2D combos, like, right? It's like, you want to be careful how much you like engage with shit like this. Oh, that's annoying. Do it like that. It's probably close enough. Oh, shit like that. Right? Like that is like classic Kai interactions. It's like you're playing neutral and then you chase them down and you get hit by like early JH bullshit into like that. But a lot of the times with Kai, I would still probably work this button some more. But I wouldn't bother on the ground too much. If you're going to do what I'm assuming Aether told you to do, which is like represent 2H a lot, it's good. I think this keeps Kai's honest about always doing... Damn, you gotta do that really early. Let me see. Pretty sure this goes under, but is it like only the later frames? I thought this went under, but I guess not. Oh, never mind then. I thought this went under. I swear I saw this go under like once or twice. Yeah, I wouldn't fuck with that button too much. This is like your button that would fuck with it. If you had to pick. Right? But I would slow it down. I would still try a lot of the things that you do before, but just be cautious of like, when he does things like this, you just kind of don't want to engage with it too much. Not directly, right? So like, if you're like, well then what do? I would usually get to like here as Kai, as like the aggressor versus Kai, right? Especially if I have a Pineberry with me, then it's just like, I'll wait for the JD and then I'll just like throw the seal. Because the seals they only fuck with it when they're there at the beginning, right? So like if you wait, you'll still be able to use Pineberry. You just have to be careful when you use it. If you use Pineberry the moment they do this, then it's gonna pop, right? Like the actual like hold on, the actual seal like explosion blows it up, you know. But you can get past them once the glyphs aren't there, right? So Pineberry still works. You just have to be careful, right? you kind of want to like time around his stuff. But again, you want to be careful because Kai is built to punish you, just like IEDing at him or like always sending it. He's obnoxious because you have to watch him do shit like this, and if let's say you did this, you just get like punished for trying to approach, right? God forbid you press the button, then it's just like he gets like full untech all the way down. That shit is full untech, man. He gets to run up from wherever and do it, right? But does that make sense? Like a lot of it is like, don't tech into Kai. Don't get too greedy versus Kai, you know. Distance is your friend because you're not going to outbutton him the way that you would other people here. So you might as well just like reset and be like, you know what? Fine, whatever. Slow it down. Try some air approaches, but if you're going to approach from the air, do it kind of like the thing I talked about earlier where it's like, you want to like build the trajectory that you need. You see how like from here, I'm like getting close, but I'm not going to make contact. I'm going to set myself up to do it like this. I like doing stuff like this so that when they do stuff like this, you kind of land like in an okay spot, if that makes sense. Right? So I was going to talk about sniper. You can't really sniper him all. We'll talk about it after. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but no, not really. The answer is no. You can't. You can try, but it's harder. It's easier said than done. Right? But I like this angle because it opens you up to approaching like this, right? Like, if you see him kind of JDing, then you're just like, yeah, I'm good, you know? But sometimes you can, like, get past it. Or at least you don't get counter hit. If you get regular hit by this, it's, like, not a big deal. Again, you just tech back. If there's one takeaway, it's just tech back versus Kai. Don't engage with any of his anti-airs. That shit is not worth it. You have to build a lot of respect to get away with it, right? But again, like, so that hits me air dashing, but it doesn't if I just run forward, right? And this trajectory sets me up for like either one, right? I could also not IED, I could also jump and pull Pine Berry and toss it, right? I'll show you last thing. It's been a while since I busted it out, but basically my takeaway, it's not like super tangible advice except the 6K stuff, but like if I was to pull up the like whiteboard again really quick, I'll show you what I mean when it's like there's kind of like a range in my head that you probably want to like consider versus Kai, and it's like essentially this. Let me see. Projected window. Wait, why is this not? Oh, it's been a while since I set up whiteboard. Maybe it doesn't work the same anymore. I think it's maybe because I'm alt-tab. I just can't see it. Hold on. Let me test this one thing. Oh, it doesn't let me. Oh, what happened to my old whiteboard? Do I have it on my monitor? Can I copy it and move it over? Hold on. Yeah, Citriux versus Johnny for your Hellfire tomorrow. Yeah, we can do that, like, separately. Yeah. We'll do it right now as, like, a bonus. I have time. Damn, my whiteboard might not work anymore. Oh, it's tough. I was gonna, like, quite literally draw it. But essentially, a lot of the times, I think it's not necessarily far slash, but the way I would put it is like, I'll use far slash for like demonstrator purposes. So like, if you were to say like, look at this, you can see my mouse on there, right? It's like, I think I usually stand like, yeah, I guess it kind of is around far slash. It's like around the tip of far slash versus Kai, right? And that's my point is like, a lot of your approaches when you're doing them, say like this, you want to try to end up like kind of close to there. Obviously, you're going to end up in far slash range a lot like this, ends in far slash range, but it's not in the range of anything else, right? It's just far slash. Yeah. Slow it down is the takeaway. Slow it down and play it the way you probably would a lot of other matchups, just more respectful of all his buttons. Let me cut my stream and then restart it because I still have to upload this to YouTube. I'll be right back.